My proud privilege and pleasure to introduce IAS S. Krishnan, a leader whose contributions in the field of governance, finance, technology, and infrastructure have not only transformed policies but inspired many others to follow his path of excellence. A 1989 batch IAS officer of Tamil Nadu cadre, Mr. Krishnan currently serves as the Secretary, Ministry of Electronics and IT, Government of India, where he plays a pivotal role in India's digital transformation, AI adoption, and semiconductor manufacturing initiatives. We'll just do a cursory view of his achievements and his resume till date, and that will show you how safe India is in terms of its placement of its leadership. He was the District Corrector of Virudhunagar, where he oversaw a lot of law and order challenges and helped achieve some rural electrification. He was India's representative at the IMF and the G20, playing a crucial role in shaping India's stance on global financial diplomacy. He further, as Chairman, 5th State Planning Commission, oversaw digital financial governance. As Principal Secretary, Housing and Urban Development, he led the Tamil Nadu affordable housing policy that enabled thousands to access low-cost housing. As the founder CEO of the Tamil Nadu Infrastructure Development Board, he was the architect of financial models for smart cities, highways, and metro rail projects, and he played a critical role in Chennai Metro 2 expansion. He was also, as Additional Chief Secretary, Industries, Investment and Commerce, the key person to spearhead over $10 billion in FDI, attracting companies like Tesla suppliers, Foxconn, and Pegatron. He championed the EV and renewable energy policies, making India the EV manufacturing hub of India. His current role as the Secretary IT and therefore at MeitY, leading the Semicon India mission, ensuring that India becomes a major player in semiconductor manufacturing and AI-driven governance. His role also includes the role of strengthening cybersecurity frameworks and 5G tech for India's digital future. Krishnan IAS is not just an administrator. He is, as you can see from his past achievements, a leader who shapes the future through innovation and decisive actions. I'm reminded of John C. Maxwell, who said, "A leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and more importantly, shows the way." Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you IAS S. Krishnan.
Shri R. Ganapati, past District Governor of Rotary, Madras District. Professor Mahesh, dignitaries on the stage, dignitaries off the stage, students, members of Rotary, and ladies and gentlemen. There are 2 or 3 preliminary comments I necessarily have to make. First and foremost, I almost didn't recognize the person that they just introduced. I don't know where he got all of that information from, but it's not something that I put out. So I can assure you that's not the way I would write my CV, but he's clearly ascribed to me several developments and several other aspects of growth which the state, the country, and various other agencies that I have been associated with have seen due to the contribution of several others, and not just me. But it's a very warm and generous introduction. Thank you for that. Second, it's always very difficult, to speak after the prizes have been given away. It's sometimes easier to hold attention while they're still waiting for the prizes. Once they've got it, I think it's more difficult to hold attention, but I think it's important today and I'm very glad that Rotary International has decided to recognize startups and recognize innovators as part of their annual program. I think it's as important a contribution to nation building and as important a contribution to building up what our economy and society are about as it is to any other activity, economic or social activity that we take up and which typically Rotary and agencies like Rotary recognize. So I think it's very fitting that they chose to recognize this. And more importantly, they've picked them out of IIT Madras Research Park, which undoubtedly is the finest facility, research facility attached to any institute anywhere in India. And not just anywhere in India, but I think it's even a global achievement because I have undoubtedly heard from many visitors from overseas and otherwise who are quite amazed by the kind of work that's been done there and the way it has been done. And the little secret, and I think when Mr. Ganapathy spoke and others spoke, they were talking about government's role and what government contributed and what government gave. And I think if you actually asked Professor Ashok Jhunjhunwala, he'd say the first thing I didn't want was government support, right? I mean, apart from the land, he made sure he got nothing really from government. He borrowed money from banks and other financial institutions to set up the entire facility. Government assistance of various kinds came in later to assist projects. For instance, my own ministry, MeitY, runs an incubation center in IIT Madras Research Park, but all that came later. To begin with, it was an idea whose time has come, an idea which needs to be replicated not just elsewhere in this state, but elsewhere in the country as well. Clearly, it's a model which needs to be studied, which needs to be emulated, and which needs to really be spread, and that actually involves the efforts of a number of people. It's not just of an educational institution or of any other agency. As I walked in today and as I was sitting in the audience, Professor Mahesh reminded me of the last occasion on which we met. And it was about a year and a half ago, probably not the last occasion on which we met, but one of the significant occasions. About a year and a half ago, IIT Madras actually recognized many of their faculty for their role in promoting innovation. And it's interesting, and I thought, with IIT Madras Research Park, with so many of them part of the innovation landscape there, and I can name many professors and faculty from there who are part of what all is happening there, it's interesting that IIT felt it was relevant and necessary that they have to encourage faculty and recognize faculty to do this. And the reason for that was quite straightforward. While those who had done good work required the recognition, it was also to encourage many others who had not tread that path so far to take it up. A very insightful comment that they run the GDC, the Deshpande Center for Innovation there, and Raghutam Rao, who runs it, then very insightfully told me that there are close to 1,000 faculty in IIT Madras, but it's probably only about 100 who are into this kind of activity. So it's something that even an institution like IIT Madras feels needs to be encouraged amongst a larger number. Then let's look at the scale of the challenge for the rest of the country, for the rest of the state, and for all other institutions that we face. Today, I think there was a time when I would believe that, if you had 1% of the enrollment of all our engineering colleges and higher educational institutions in the state taking to entrepreneurship, that would mean, on an average, about 2,000 entrepreneurs a year, about 200,000 people getting into engineering colleges every year, 2 lakh people. So you have 1% of that, which means about 2,000 people actually getting into active entrepreneurship. That in itself would be a huge number, and which would then require us to make sure that you have enough facilities to encourage this kind of incubation across different institutions, across different locations. It's certainly happening in a number of institutions. We see it happening at a number of locations. Many private educational institutions, government educational institutions take to this and do it, but it's not on the scale that the country really needs. And why does the country need this? The country needs this for a number of reasons. I think gone are the days when one went into university or college looking for salaried employment at the end of it. Not everyone is going to find that kind of salaried employment anymore, the kind of employment that I found or some of you found. Increasingly, We need people who contribute to the growth of the nation by being creative, by contributing to what needs to happen to the overall economy of the country. And that's where I think the role of innovators becomes so important, that they need to come in and make sure that they contribute to establishing new businesses, to the growth of new businesses, to the effective creation of jobs, the creation of wealth. I think that is the critical role innovators play. The second critical role that they play is a role of disruption. Many sectors need to be disrupted. If you look at the kind of technology sectors I'm responsible for currently, whether you look at artificial intelligence or whether you look at something like development of semiconductors, in each of these areas, the people who contribute to the vibrancy of the sector and the people who contribute to its growth are innovators, are startups. Everyone talks about large language models and generative AI right now. And right now you associate it with the big tech companies. But we must remember, whether it is what is happening in Microsoft, OpenAI was originally a startup. Google, the DeepMind part of it was originally a startup. So practically everything originated as a startup, which was then absorbed into a larger company and enabled to grow. So the disruptive change which needs to come with technology, and technology is truly going to be the driver of growth. And we recently did a study in the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology and found that the digital sector of India's economy, the digital economy literally, has grown from about a little less than 6% about 10 years ago to more than about 13% currently, and likely to grow to 20% of our economy by the turn of this decade. So you're seeing the digital economy grow at twice the rate of the rest of the economy and thereby increasing its overall share. And the rest of the economy is also impacted by the kind of technology and productivity growth that digital technology offers to the rest of economy. Today, many of the startups you heard about are entities which are going to contribute to the growth of traditional companies, traditional sectors, whether it is in manufacturing, whether it is in agriculture, whether it is in any of these areas. They're going to contribute to the growth there. There's an overlay of technology that contributes to a significantly enhanced productivity. That is the kind of role that technology can play and can contribute, and all of that comes through the disruptors, all of that comes through the innovators. Which is why I think definitely the Government of India and also many of the state governments are supporting startups to this significant extent and are pushing for this role. But, government can at best provide an environment which can make it happen. We can put down a little bit of money for grants. I was very gratified to know that some of the winners today did receive grants, including from MeitY. So we can put out those grants. Those are the smaller contributions. But ultimately, it's a culture of innovation that needs to flourish. It's the ease of doing business or the ease of innovation that we need to create in terms of giving opportunities to experiment, giving opportunities to innovate, giving opportunities to grow. And that's really what I think the government is truly focused on. That is something which is being pushed as a conscious effort, and something through both the Startup India mission and through the various initiatives that my own ministry runs in the space of startups. So that is, I think, at best a marginal contribution. But the real lesson, I think, ultimately going back, lies in what the ecosystem itself offers, lies in an IIT Madras Research Park coming up with a supportive government, but not with an active government role. It is something that needs to take place outside of that space with a supportive government stance, but independent of what the government does. And I really look forward, and which is why I think support from entities like Rotary is again very important. And I'm sure in the audience today, there are many of you who are wealthy enough, who have sort of been through enough of life to be the actual venture capitalist investors who put in money into the new ventures that need to happen. If, in spite of all that has happened in Chennai with all of these efforts, We are still not in Chennai the leaders in terms of where we need to stand in terms of the startup ecosystem. Part of the problem is you don't have enough venture capital funding which comes out of Chennai itself. So you need to sort of actually that critical mass in terms of having enough startups growing and enough capital coming in, risk capital coming in needs to happen. And I think Rotary, in addition to honoring various and recognizing what the startups are doing, which is, I think, very, very important, also amongst their members needs to spread the message that you need to put together a network of risk capital which will support this particular innovation, this particular initiative to really thrive and grow. But let me once again thank Rotary for having invited me for this occasion and to join this particular event. This hall itself has many memories and has been a location of many significant events in the past, and it's always good to be back here. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Mr. Krishnan, we would request you to be please part of the photographs. Thank you.
A bigger round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. What a fantastic session this was.